did you give me like a month? You told me you got 2 Sundays and then you're going to start serving. And I'm like, oh,
you got
okay.
2 Sundays.
Was
that cruel?
Well, you weren't cruel about it. You were just kind of like
prodding you along, right?
I knew you liked Matt and I, so I'm like, you got 2 Sundays, then you're going to start sitting with us and working.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was like not incentive, but you had a plan. So you got me, you were like, not pushy. I want to say
you're
pushy.
not making me sound good to any listeners, Gary.
You're not pushy. You were, but you were helping me make, that's the next step, right?
Hey, welcome to the Next Step Podcast. This is episode number 20, which means we're only one episode away from when we can drink Powerade Zero legally. Right there you go. Anyway, we're glad you guys are here with us today. So the whole mission of this podcast is to let you meet people that are like you, that are taking their next steps on their journey with Jesus Christ. And today we have an extraordinary special guest, somebody I've grown to respect and know and love in great ways. His name is Gary, and welcome to the Next Step Podcast.
Hey, Ray.
Glad you're here.
I'm glad.
And Brad is with us too, and because Brad's played a pivotal part in his journey and that kind of stuff, and they work together now on something. It's a project that we want everybody to have an opportunity to get involved in as we move along. So welcome, Gary. So first question out of the box is: so tell us about you. So where's Gary from? Tell us about you. Tell us about you growing up and key decisions you made and stuff like that.
Okay, so my name's Gage. I know a lot of people probably think, Gary, because Brad, I blame you. But anyway.
So do you like Gage better? Or do you like Gary?
Gary's fine. I've gotten used to Gary. I'm fine with either one.
Okay.
Some people hear Gage and they're like, Gage, they're the same person.
Garret is your God-given name.
Garret.
And
anyway.
we call him Gary for short.
So sure. Gage is a nickname.
Gage is a nickname given by my father. He didn't want to call me Garret. So he was like, they found
so you
Gage.
kind of moved back a little bit toward Garret with Gary.
Right. So,
I got it. Okay. So, I want to tell you, the Gage sounds like a cool name. It's like a Hitman movie or something like that. Like, don't get in my way because Gage is coming, right? I'm going to pull mine out. But anyway, we're grateful to have you here. So Garret is your given name, but you go by Gage or Gary.
Correct.
So tell us where Gage came from.
I'm really not sure. My mom gave me Garret. She wanted me to be called Garret.
Okay.
And my middle name's Winfield, and she had seen, I think it's from McClintock. She wanted to call me GW. So she got something like that. So she got Garret, I think, for the G. But she didn't want to call me Garret because there were a lot of Garrets when I was born or something. So they found, my dad found Gage as a nickname. So that's not like on my birth certificate. That's not anywhere. But I've always, first day of school is always like Garret Gatlin. I'm like here, but I'm Gage, and it's always
Garret McLean. Is that what you said?
Winfield. Garret Winfield Gatlin.
Okay.
So
and he was on McClintock.
McClintock. Yeah,
that was
Western
John Wayne's
show
or something.
I think it was.
That was John Wayne's character on McClintock. I think.
Okay.
So
all right.
So that's where I think that's most of my names, right?
Good deal.
He gets a lot of names.
That's awesome.
Let's see. So I was born in Clover, and then we moved here not long. So I've been here pretty much my whole life in Belmont.
Okay.
Grew up in church. I was in the Lutheran church, Holy Comforter.
Okay.
Grew up there, and kind of as I got older, and church kind of felt like a chore at when I was younger, and when I became a teenager, it's like, oh, that's my day off. But anyway, so
usually not that church is a chore.
It
became like a chore.
It felt like it was like just you want to sleep in on Sunday as a kid. So I was like, we kind of fell away from the church for a while. Not that they were all good people, great people. I loved everybody there.
Yeah,
and so moved away from that, and then went through school and kind of. We still prayed before meals and did all, we're still believed, but I wouldn't say I had a personal relationship with Christ.
Now, during that time, you went to like Belmont Middle and South Point. Okay.
Went Belmont Middle and then South Point. Yeah.
Okay.
And,
in your Sunday mornings, you'd watch Bible Man, right?
Yeah. So, watch like Joel Osteen, some of the people on TV, but we didn't have that go to church and have that community for a while. We tried. There was another church I can't remember the name of, but but kind of fell away from the church crowd. And then let's see. So went through high school, graduated high school. I didn't go to college. I started working pretty much straight out of high school. I took like that summer and then started working, and I've just worked ever since. And I kind of, at one of my first jobs, I kind of fell in with the wrong crowd and was, tried different substances that different stuff. And, cause I still wanted community. I didn't have like school friends anymore. I couldn't, do that, but this was something, anyway, so I tried that, and then kind of once went through all that, and then COVID hit, and I couldn't, everybody shut down, and I, again, had not been going to church. So I had this loneliness, what was kind of, and didn't really have a relationship with God, or it was kind of rocky, I'd say. And, let's see. So at some point, little after, I guess it was after, COVID was kind of getting to be over, my dad started his printing business and met Brad.
Yeah.
And, did some printing for them, and Brad suggested, his group, the young adult group.
Right? No. What was cool about him is I didn't meet you, but I would meet with your dad. We'd grab a coffee or something, and I would ask, I'd say, how's your son doing? Yeah, because I knew at that time you were working at Subway at one point, and he would have to take you at night and pick you up, and he would tell me about that. Yeah, and he reached out to me, and he said, my son needs a group. He's wayward. He doesn't really, he's frustrated in life. He needs friends that that are good friends, not bad ones. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, have him come to our group. So your dad reached out to me, and then you showed up and talk about it.
Yeah. So we went to that one of the third Thursdays, I think. Or
no, you came to my house.
Yeah, it was it was at your house.
So we have groups, for those of you that third Thursday is an event for students, or rather young adults from
18 to 29.
18 to 29, and that happens once a month on Thursdays. But they always meet every Thursday for some type of group experience. Mm-hmm. Third Thursday is a little jazzed up, right?
Yeah, it's a little jazzed up.
Okay. So for those people that are watching, that helps you know what that's about.
Starts back in September.
All right.
So, started going to that group, but still wasn't going to church. But of course I'd heard of, we talked about different, what kept me coming back after the first one was that it was God-centered, but it wasn't like, I wasn't being Bible thumped. I wasn't having it shoved down my throat about anything. It was kind of community with God in it.
Yeah.
So
that's a great description of what groups should be like.
Yeah, it's a really good description.
So, got to know Brad, got to know Matt, who's a great guy, and quite a few other people. I mean, it was quite a few people. I started going to that, but like I said, I wasn't going to the church yet because I just wasn't sure. I knew that was going to be a lot of people I didn't know, but one Sunday I was just like, I'd like to see everybody, and I don't know if groups were going on at that moment, but I was like, I'd like to see everybody. So went and saw Brad, and was able to, since I knew some people, had somebody to sit with when I went into the service.
For listeners that are listening in to us talk right now, when I saw you walk through the doors, it's like some of you listening will know when you finally get that one person to come to church and they walk through and you didn't invite them, but you've been praying and you walk through the door, you don't realize how excited I was to see you show up on that Sunday morning.
It's awesome because his dad had been praying about it, and you've been praying about it, and just the fact that here comes this guy. I think it's really cool too, which I think is totally legal. And for those people that are watching out there, it is fine to come to group before you go to church. Happens a lot because a lot of people want to see. I want to be part of a smaller community as part of this church before I'm part of the greater community. That makes complete sense to me. So thanks for doing us that favor, and we're glad that you took the next step. So you came to group. And then what happened?
Let's see. First Sunday, like I said, he had somebody sit with me, and then he was. Did you give me like a month? You told me you're like you got 2 Sundays, and then you're gonna start serving. And I'm like, oh,
you got
okay.
2 Sundays.
Was
that cruel?
Well, you weren't cruel about it. You were just kind of like
prodding you along, right?
You were,
well,
yeah.
I knew you liked Matt and I, so I'm like, you got 2 Sundays, then you're gonna start sitting with us and working.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was like not incentive, but you were like, you had a plan. So you got me, you were like, not pushy. I don't want to say
you're
pushy.
not making me sound good to any listeners,
You're not pushy. You were, but you were helping me make, that's the next step, right?
Take your steps,
like,
exactly.
Go to church, serve. That's one of the things, so he was like, that's what we're going to do. So started serving once a month on the fourth Sunday, I think. And so
you took a small step.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But those small steps became big steps.
Yeah. So came in like an hour earlier than the first service to help set up and greet people. Well, but greet people and do, started doing that. And then I kind of got more connected with you and Matt. We were hanging out outside of church and outside of group and going to movies or what, all this. I think we had started doing that by that point.
We probably have.
And I knew that y'all did the coffee first thing in the morning. And again, it was like, I'd like to see them again. I'd like to hang out with them for a while. So and I'm not really, it's another one of those things. I don't really know exactly when it happened or there wasn't like a moment when it happened, but I just, it's like, so started coming in a little early to help set up. And,
do you have a favorite coffee drink?
You do now.
I
Didn't
do
then,
now.
but do now? What is it now?
Oh yeah.
Matt makes it for you, right?
Yeah. What is it? It's, what is it? He calls it, it's like white chocolate and
It's cookie dough. It's cookie dough. He has a
it's white chocolate
concoction.
and cookie dough. Cause he mixes some interesting ones. What is the one? He had a name for it, but,
he called it the Matt.
Right.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
That's what it is.
He likes Cinnamon Toast
Okay,
Crunch.
all right.
That's it.
That's a good
I
one.
like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man, Cinnamon Toast Crunch and cookie dough. I have never heard that before. That's some magic in that phrase.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. How about that? Let's do that.
You get to experiment quite a bit.
But what
with
he's
that.
saying is, for people listening in a group, you make those relationships in group. You hear him talk about Matt. Well, Matt was a part of group, and because Matt poured into him, he wanted more of what God was doing. He wanted what God was doing in Matt's life.
Yeah. What's interesting about that is too, like Matt's got a story. Garret, Gage has a story. Brad has a story, and none of our stories are perfect, but we're people that need community with one another when we're up and when we're down. And it sounds to me like you really got that. And I remember Brad coming and talking about that to the rest of our staff and like, man, here's a guy that's come in and he's taking steps and he just really encourages me a lot. And for us, that's what it's all about here as we talk about taking your next step on the journey with Christ, particularly the podcast. So you've come to group, then you jump into church, even though you've not really been a church kind of person. And then you got involved in serving, and then you got involved in helping with the coffee ministry and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. And this will be my second year of Collision. We just had our first meeting. I think it starts this week.
So tell for those people that are listening what Collision's all about.
Collision is middle school, high school kids.
Student ministry, right?
Student ministry, which, and when we did the Called series, the first one, I felt like that's where I fell out of church. So I really wanted to prevent that. And I thought that what I had gone through could help with that particular age group.
That's awesome.
So it's been
so your own need
mm-hmm.
and where you left it. You wanted to make it. I want to make it exciting for those kids that are coming, so they don't fall out too.
Yeah.
How cool is that, man? That's
but
awesome.
before collision, you got baptized.
I did,
which is another huge step.
Yeah, it was. And that was another thing I didn't. That I didn't go to church the first time and be like, and then I got to get baptized. It wasn't something that was on my mind that first time. It's just something that I think we were having baptisms, and it was like, and it, light bulb came on, and God told me, it's like, that's what you need to do. We had been having breakfast
every Wednesday morning.
Wednesday mornings, and we'd been doing that for a while, and like I said, they were like, baptisms are coming up. I was like, Brad, I think, would you baptize me?
And that was an honor.
Wow.
And Gary's the first guy baptized. I feel like I have interesting baptism stories.
Yeah, you do.
But
what a great thing to do, though.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you're the only person I've ever baptized that didn't hold your nose. You just went down. I call it the Gary.
Yeah, I did like the
water
style.
up in the nose. He's like, I'm just getting baptized. That's all I care about, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So for those that are watching, baptism is an outward symbol of something's already happened inside of you. So the important thing is that Christ had already entered your heart. You don't know if it happened when you were in middle school or when you went through the difficulties in college. Maybe it's because of the interaction and relationship with others, but you ultimately made this decision about crossing the line of faith. When do you think you made that? Was it after you returned to church or here, or do you think you made it somewhere along the way and just kind of fell away from that? What would you say?
I can remember there was somebody I met when I was working. I was working at Peace and Harmony, and someone I had met. A lot of them were Christ followers.
Yeah, the good people. I miss Peace and Harmony, by the way. Y'all did a good job there.
It was good. And a lot of them were Christ followers, and I was like super skeptical, and I was one of the people that was like, well, if God's this, then had all the questions that are like I was asking questions, but part of me was trying to tear it down,
Sure.
Find something you can't answer,
right?
And and they were really patient with me, and so I had I had talked to them, and
do you remember
I think
their names?
that was, let's see. Corey
okay.
was, I'm trying to remember. He was a police officer here.
Okay.
Corey Fox, I think was his last name. I haven't been able to talk to. I haven't really talked to anybody in a long time, but he was one of the big influences.
Awesome.
Him and his wife Jamie.
Wow.
And then Jonathan. It was a Jonathan. I can't remember his last name, but he worked there, and he was very. And Christine Ranks, who was the one of the owners of Peace and Harmony, was very
had a warm smile. I remember Christine. That's awesome.
She was, yeah.
Wow, what a great thing for them to hear too, if they're out there in the world. And they're people that we all meet from time to time that are part of our journey. And it's not like knock on the door, here's the Bible, you need Jesus, let's get you baptized and let's get you to go to church. But there are people that are just real people that you encounter that are willing to answer your tough questions. And you ask good questions, by the way. You've asked me a few questions after church and made me stop and think, okay, so what is the right answer to that? So I think a questioning faith is a good faith, because if you come into something blindly and you just believe it for the sake of believing it, is it really faith?
Right.
You really are somebody that I've noticed that it's very thoughtful and considerate. By considerate, certainly you're kind and considerate, but you consider what it is that you're doing, and you want to do it in the right way, and you want it to be evaluated in that kind of way and stuff. And that's impressive. So don't be afraid to ask questions if you're part of our church family. Questions are good. Anyway, so now we got this place where now you're serving coffee and that kind of stuff and getting involved. And you're getting involved in relationships and learning to know people. You've made kind of a posse, right? You've had your own entourage, right, that you're following around with.
Your posse, that's funny.
My posse.
Or you're a part of Brad's posse.
Right,
Is that what it is?
Oh my gosh, I don't have a posse.
I don't want to be. I don't know if I want to be the leader of a posse. I'm not quite there in my walk.
I'm not cool enough to be a posse leader.
All right, I got you.
I'm not quite there yet.
That's
But,
cool.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have community.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to be a Christ follower without it.
Absolutely.
You said something at our young adult retreat that I'll never forget. You stood up and you did a devotional, which if you know Gary, if you ask him to do something, he'll do it. He's got an open mind. He'll do it. Even if he doesn't really feel it, he's going to try it.
Yeah.
So he got there and he did a devotional. And then we had around the campfire, we were talking about testimonies. And he said, I finally have friends that I can tell my dad about and be proud of.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. It made me feel really special at the time.
Right.
And I'm glad that you have that in your life.
That's cool. And so we can't guarantee people are going to make friends,
No.
but most likely they are. Even if the first circle doesn't get the objective accomplished, you know, we are always constantly saying circles are better than rows.
Mm-hmm.
And we really believe that too. Oh, that quote Andy Stanley, so I want to give him appropriate attribution. We love people when we get in rows, and it's a great place to start. But we kind of think of church like as the front door of the church is kind of the foyer is kind of like Sunday morning where people are coming in. But for you, the front door was a group experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really cool because ultimately when you get in a smaller circle of people, you can be authentic and genuine and really understand who you are. Now you can be a fake and a crazy hypocrite too if you want to be, but ultimately there's something about the intimacy of being in a small group of people that really helps us all, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I agree.
So what are some of the things that you've learned in small group? What are some of the topics of discussion that y'all have gotten into?
That's another thing that I really liked about it especially when I first started, because it wasn't just read this scripture and we're going to talk about this piece of scripture. I mean, there is scripture, but a lot of it was attributes, you know, that you want to have, you know, being discerning or being more loving, or like different attributes that I would want anyone to have, not just someone to have a verse in their head that's like, oh, well, God says to do this, you know. So I can't think of a specific one. I mean, I did learn Matthew 18 very, very well, I'd say.
You did. You learned it very well.
Well, so talk about that. So you had kind of a conflict inside of the group. And when we on our staff have something where we need to speak directly with people, we talk about having a Matthew 18 conversation, because in Matthew 18, there's this point where it says in the message, if somebody hurts your feelings, go directly to that person and point it out. I like the New International Version better. It says, if somebody has sinned against you, and I guess when somebody hurts your feelings, sin can be involved as well too, or maybe that's the primary reason, but you ultimately go one-on-one with people. And then if that doesn't work, you go 2 or 3 on 1, right, to kind of work it out. But you had this conflict that happened in group, right?
So what happened was I was going over Matthew 18 for the group. We had probably 20 people in the circle.
It was, yeah.
There's a lot of people.
20 people were there.
20 people were there. And I wasn't paying attention to Gary, and he was getting mad.
Well,
and
we'd had
some prior discussions about
issues,
other issues.
There's a little tension.
There's
right?
tension.
Yeah,
I didn't realize there was tension.
Which is completely natural in a group, because when people get together, there are going to be tensions. But just like you said there, he was feeling tension. You didn't get it. And then the tension kind of came to a head, right?
He blows up on me in group.
Okay.
In front of the whole group.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
it's like you're still living those scars. And everything like
still
that.
living.
Okay.
So what happened after that, we got him and we calmed him down. We sat him down. We talked to him. And I left there and I was frustrated because I love Gary. But what he did was not cool. Matthew 18 is this right here, not this right here.
Well, and I was worried after we had our conversation, like, because you were, I mean, obviously what I had done to you was terrible, and you were mad. And I wasn't sure that you were ever going to, you know, you said I forgive you, but I didn't think we were ever going to be able to
reconcile
our relationship.
So here's how God works. It's amazing. So I took 5 days, and I kept coming back to this. And if anyone's listening out there that can relate to this is what you always need to think about. I thought to myself, I baptized this guy. If I never speak to him again, what kind of example am I setting as a staff member, but most importantly, as a Christ follower?
Right, absolutely.
So I called him up, and I'm like, I love you, man. It's okay. And he might have thought at that moment, I'm giving you lip service. Well, just to make it happen. But I feel like since that moment, God has grew us even closer. We were close before, but we're really close now.
You've really grown closer.
Yeah. And I don't even think about that day. You bring it up more than me, but he always jokes. He's like, I know Matthew 18. Yeah. He learned it clear that night. Yeah. But God used that to teach you a lesson about Matthew 18.
So how did you reconcile whatever was causing tension? You don't have to give us the issue.
I can't. I just called him up on the phone. I was like, I love you, man. It's done. Let's never talk about it again. Well, you can grow from this.
I wrote you that letter too.
And he did write me a really sweet letter. He's a writer.
I wrote you.
How can you be mad at someone that takes time to write a single spaced letter, small print for you?
I wrote it because I didn't know, I didn't know if not that I didn't know if you'd open it, but I didn't know I didn't want you to open it till you were ready to open it, till you were ready to hear it. Because I knew you were mad at me, and I understood, it's not that I didn't understand why, but so.
It was a really nice letter. You did a great job. You're a good letter writer. But the letter was only a quarter of why I reconcile with you. Because again, I'm a Christ follower, and I kept thinking, man, if I turn my back on him and he leaves church, that's on me.
Right.
It's not on him. That's on me. And I need to set an example for him, for people in group, for my children. I have to be an example. But
there's something interesting in that. So you did something and you did something, but you did it in your own way. For you, it was a call saying, hey, man, I love you. For you, you're like, yeah, I want to go a little bit different than that. So you wrote him a letter, but you both took action to make the relationship reconcile. If you both had not done something, if one was doing all the work, then the relationship wouldn't be reconciled. But you both didn't necessarily meet in the middle. You might have met 2/3 of the way and you 1/3 of the way or whatever, but you took action. You took a step.
5 days are a long time without us speaking.
It was, yeah, it was.
Because you were good friends.
Yeah.
Good friends, right?
It was a long time without us texting or speaking.
Yeah, it was a long week.
I'm glad it's over, though.
Me too.
We both learned stuff from that.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
So surprise, surprise, people can have conflicts. But ultimately, we're wanting people to get in circles so they can have good places where you can have conflict. How many people walk around with unresolved conflict? Certainly have fun, do some fun stuff together, learn some stuff together, grow together. But one of the best ways to grow is to have a good fight, and then you get over it, right? Absolutely. So now you've taken another step of discipleship. So let me recount here. So you're unchurched for a while, then you got this dude that you don't even know about that's praying for you along with your dad, and your dad's helping us print stuff. And thank you so much for printing these great shirts and signs and stuff for us out there. We appreciate you. But then one day you walk in the door because you've both been praying. Then you decide to jump into a small group. You want to get in a circle. You don't want to go sit in a row with a bunch of people. You want to get in a circle to see if this thing's for real. And then you do that. And then because you do that, you ultimately decide, I want to belong in a circle like this regularly. And so you begin attending church, and you ultimately become part of the Christ follower family publicly, although it's happened privately at some point during your development and through that situation, and you go public with baptism. I mean, step after step. And ultimately, I think the hardest step of discipleship is not death. It's not depression. I think the hardest step of discipleship is when you do have conflict with people. So man, you're not taking steps. You're taking like leaps. You're like an Olympic triple jumper, Christian, taking big steps and jumping and going long kinds of ways down the pathway. So what is the new thing that we've begun doing to get people connected, and have you gotten involved?
Connection Point. Brad's headed up Connection Point, I believe. That is what
he's looking at me.
You started.
Do you want me to?
do you want a picture? You want me to?
Well, Connection Point's my baby, right? Like it's something that we as a staff really wanted at the church, and I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it with Gary alongside me.
Yeah,
and
because he's kind of like your buddy.
He is, but in Connection Point, it's all about taking your next step. That's the whole. It's community and talking about your next step. Well, for me, in my sphere, who better than to set an example for next steps than this guy? I'm a staff member. They're going to assume I take next steps. But when they look at him and he can sit there and tell that circle every month, because he says, he said, it's the same stuff every month. I'm like, it is.
It's kind of the same.
It is. But it's different ears. And he can tell what you just recounted for people listening. That's an impact. He may not see the impact, but he's impacting people. So I call him my right-hand man with Connection Point because he is.
So do you see the kind of impact you're having to help other people get connected? There's a reason you keep coming back, and I'm assuming the reason you come back is not just because Brad's your friend.
Right. Well, I think it's one of those, I don't see, I can't think of, like, if you plant a tree the next day, you're not going to see fruit the next day.
There you go.
So it's kind of like that. I think it's just planting some seeds in people's head. To me, I don't have expectations with this. But I hope that what I do with Brad and with the church, I hope everything I do helps somebody, whether I see it or not.
So you feel like you're kind of like a tree grower, a fertilizer guy, taking care of branches and helping people figure out their own way through the path? Yeah,
just picking out some of the weeds kind of thing.
Good deal.
But I view you as equal to me out there because your impact with your testimony carries as much weight as me talking about taking your next step. You can't have this without that.
So for a while, you talked about it pretty quickly and moving over. You went through a time where there was substance abuse involved, right? And you were trying to find your meaning through self-medicating through different stuff to get you up or to get you down, and which is pretty natural. People do that with activity. They do it with food. They do it, if it's not drugs or alcohol, they'll do it through various other kinds of things, right?
Yeah, it's something my dad, he'll say, trying to fill a God-sized hole, right, with whatever it is.
Right.
And nothing ever does. It's like it's a vacuum that, like I said, only God can fill. So, and I think it's, I feel pretty filled on a regular basis.
Right.
And it's not just a one
filled
time.
On a regular basis.
Yeah,
I like that.
It's not just, I went to church once and I'm good for the year.
Yeah.
I hate missing church.
You do.
Like I don't like not being able to make it to stuff.
So say more about that. So what is it you don't like about missing it?
Well, to me, part of it, one of the biggest things is it's a big social interaction. I get to see people that, again, like the people I see every day, at work or whatever, I might not, I want to have that religious relationship with them, but you can't always guarantee that, right? And when you go to church, for me, it's everybody's there for a common reason. We come from all over the place for whatever, we got there, however, whatever different reasons, but we're all here right now for this one reason.
Amen.
And so it's nice to, you can ask questions, you can answer questions, you can just, we just have that fellowship.
Right.
I think that's one of the most important things in the church is the fellowship.
Right.
So.
Awesome.
So I don't want to jump ahead of you, but
go ahead.
He came to me. He came to me one day and he said, "Brad, I feel like I wanna work and serve God in a church or somewhere. So, look at him now. Tell us what you're doing now. God opened a door for you in a unique way. And I'm just proud of you for that.
You mean cleaning?
Yeah.
Talking about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Mike was looking for a new cleaning solution, a new cleaning company, and I was looking to make a few extra hours. And that just kind of fit really well. And I've always enjoyed spending time at the church. You know, there's always something, just, you know, even when I'm alone in it now, it's nice it feels like home, you know, in a way. It's, so it's been nice to have that, you know, to be able to do something I know matters.
Absolutely.
You know, because everybody's, and I don't mean to brag, everybody else tells me I'm doing a good job. I think
you are.
I think I am. Everybody's like, "Oh, you're doing a great job."
Biased,
like,
though.
I know. And I feel like everybody's a little biased on there. It's like, "You're doing a great job." And I'm like, I'm just kind of doing what I'm supposed to do.
But you set the stage.
And
for me, it's always about two things. First of all, it smells clean and it looks clean. And then there's always blue water in the commodes. When there's blue water, I know that everything's clean because everything else around it is clean as well, too.
Yeah.
So thanks for the good
And the
work that you
doors
do.
are clean. There's no fingerprints.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good.
So, but it's a nice little get to be kind of by myself, and I'll it's just nice.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting when you walk into a building where the church comes. It's not the church where people come to the building. Too often people think the church is the building.
Right.
But you're preparing excellent environments where people want to attend, which is what we want to have happen. You know, I want to go to a place. When I go to a restaurant, I want to make sure the spoons and the knives are clean. I want to make sure the floor is clean. I hope they have an A rating back in the back. If they don't, I probably won't come back there, right? Yeah. And so you help us prepare those A-rated environments every week. So we appreciate that.
So I bring this up in connections to the connection point. I'll ask you, what do you think when you go into a restaurant to eat for the first time and there's tables that haven't been cleaned off?
I'm kind of like, well, I wonder if they clean mine.
Yeah.
You know, or if they just took the dishes off, right?
Yeah.
I want to see if they're going to scrape it off. And, you know, it's not COVID anymore. So sometimes people can be more relaxed than they used to be.
Do you want to go back to that restaurant?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No.
So that's what you help set that stage.
Right.
Because you keep it clean and people come in, they see a fresh building. It's more appealing for God. You're setting it for God's house, which is incredible.
So we really appreciate what God's doing in your life. And so let's move on to the third part. So this is the fun part here too. We can kind of throw out some kind of random questions. And since you're his friend, you might know a lot of these things already, but anyway, here it goes. So for you, when you want to go on vacation, you want to go to the mountains or the beach, and why?
You want to guess?
No, you just asked me the other day, what should I do for a week's vacation? You didn't even know.
No. What?
I would say you like the beach.
I saw the M forming on his.
I used to, when I was a kid, really like the beach, but I've gotten to where I like the mountains. I think having a nice lodge or somewhere kind of relaxed, like it's real quiet in the mountains. You're usually not around a lot of people. It's just kind of, you know, that's more relaxing than trying to go to the beach. I mean, the beach is nice. Don't get me wrong, but I'd say mountains as long as it's not too cold.
Sports, movies, or concert? Which one would you go to?
Ooh. I want you to guess some of these because I'm wondering.
He's asking you to guess.
Concerts and horror movies.
Okay.
He's a big Halloween fan.
Okay. All right. He likes to be scared.
Okay.
We've had the Michael Myers debate.
Okay. So yes, I'd say concert then movie because I can always.
I'm right on that.
I want to say I can always go to a movie, but concert, you know, kind of you got to take it when it comes, right? So
Southern rock or contemporary country.
Oh, Southern rock.
Between those two, Southern rock, yeah,
right.
Leonard Skinner type, kind of,
All right,
good stuff.
Headbangers or jazz?
Headbangers.
Okay, Brad.
I'll stop it.
I'm gonna call you Mini Gary.
No, he just
I
knows.
know him.
Headbangers.
He likes that crazy music. He likes that metal music that I can't.
Well,
he likes screamo.
No, not screamo. No, it's like I like some of the 80s stuff, Metallica, Iron Maiden's good.
Okay.
Like I've been to see Iron Maiden. Some of this, like I would never have expected to be able to go see them. That's a good show. I just went to see a band called Disturbed a couple weeks ago with my dad.
Okay. Did you leave Disturbed?
No, I was pretty happy. But my dad was a big music influence in my life. And he was rock kind of, and I've tried to mix it up a little bit. I get a little bit of that and a little bit of like, not quite like modern country, but like folk country type stuff.
Yeah. Old school country.
Some of it, yeah. So I try to mix it up a little bit.
Okay, chicken or fish?
Chicken.
Steak or pork?
Ooh, that's.
You're looking at me like I need to answer it.
I'm waiting to see if you. I'm waiting to see if you guess, but
I would say steak.
I like a steak every once in a while. It's hard to beat like barbecue, so pork.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say pork on that one.
Kyle Fletchers or Hillbillies?
Or mine.
You make it pretty good. It's pretty. It's
or
always,
Brad's.
It's always pretty good.
Brad's
homemade.
barbecue.
It's always pretty good homemade, but I'd say I think the last time we went to Hillbillies had a bigger sandwich, so I'm gonna say
you
Hillbillies.
chose Hillbillies over mine. You're dead to me now. I got a Matthew 18 when this goes off.
Yours is fine, but you can But let me know when you make some, right?
Cake or ice cream?
Ooh, I'm gonna say cake.
All right, good deal. Whitewater rafting or a long walk?
I think a walk. That's a little more relaxing to me. I like I'm not big on adventure. I'd say whitewater rafting, like walk. I'm gonna go with walk.
Trucks or cars?
I'd like to have a truck one day.
Okay,
That'd be cool.
Really?
Working up toward trucks. All right, there we go.
One
Ford
day.
or Chevy? Or Dodge or Tundra or whatever Toyota.
Well, I don't know, between those two, Chevy. But like my dad had a GMC.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was its own. Is that still?
It's kind of like Chevrolet and GMC are kind of the same thing.
Okay. See,
It was a little different.
I don't know cars very well, but I remember that one. That one, we had that one that one was an old car. That one lasted a good while. So I'd say if I had to get one, I'd get one of those. It'd be something that lasts a long while and something durable.
I want to ask you one. Santa suit or Easter bunny costume? For people that don't know, he always steps up. He's Santa at Christmas time at the Pointe Church.
And Easter bunny at Easter.
And the Easter bunny at Easter.
I don't know.
And the hot dog.
Okay, that one's kind of tough because the Easter bunny suit's hard to see out of. I don't know if anybody watched me this past Easter, but it looked like a 90-year-old Easter bunny coming out because someone had to like guide me. I couldn't see where I was walking. I was looking down at my feet.
You shuffled.
But the Santa suit has that beard that like the beard gets in my mouth. It's hard not to get it. Like I don't know how.
What about the hot dog suit then?
Hot dog suit's pretty basic. I think I'd say that's the easiest to wear.
Okay.
It's cool.
I like, but I'm always Willy Wonka was pretty fun.
Willy Wonka, yeah, you were Willy Wonka.
For the trunk or treat, that was a good one. So
fantastic.
I don't know when's
song from my childhood is coming back. I wish I was an Oscar Mayer wiener. He probably didn't know what that is. He has probably never heard that thing, right?
I don't know that.
Yeah, one, it's not in his memory.
He doesn't know. He's too young.
It's distant. It's farther out.
He does have a birthday coming up, but yes.
All right, good deal. What's your birthday?
August 25th.
All right, August 25th. Maybe this will be published by August 25th. So if you see Gary anytime around August 25th, let him know. Awesome. Night or day? Night owl?
Night owl.
Or early? Okay. Good deal.
Yep. Night owl.
How late are you up?
I think it just depends on the night. Sometimes I can stay up early into the morning. I don't like to when I know I have to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
But I can stay up pretty late if I need, So
coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee, energy drink. I mean, I'll drink an energy drink, but I try not to because I don't want to say they scare me, but they're a little more intense. You know what I mean? So coffee, I'm gonna go coffee on that one.
U.S. Postal Service, FedEx, or UPS?
Whichever one gets me one package faster, right? I'm gonna go with FedEx.
Oh, good deal, good deal. He has a tie to FedEx.
Option.
I don't want to see. That's a trick question.
Yeah.
You did good with that.
Brad or Matt? Go. I'm just kidding.
You guys are kind of like the three amigos, aren't you?
Yeah, and they probably heard us talk about Matt, but Matt is also helps us. He does a lot. People have seen him there. He works at the coffee bar. He's also my right hand man on Sunday morning.
Right.
He's the heavy lifter.
Yeah, he rolls the coffee
The
bar
Spartan.
out.
Yeah.
He's the Spartan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's our
Same.
Spartan guy.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
Spartan.
He does
guy.
like 3 Spartan races in a weekend.
He has a huge
Trifecta.
Spartan goal
Yeah,
this year.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What's his goal? It's pretty big.
It's to
He wants to do like
10 trifectas. Like
I don't know,
it's
a
like
lot.
it's like a bunch of
yeah.
That's
Anyway.
amazing.
a lot.
Another
He's
story
cra-
for another
he's
time.
crazy. Yeah. So,
More power to him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's
All right.
great to get to know you. So as people are listening in and relieving, is there anything you'd give them, any wisdom about getting involved, taking your next step? You have a favorite Bible verse, any of those kinds of things that mean something to you? Look at him. See how he gets that thoughtful.
Yeah, that's
Favorite
Like Abraham
Bible verse.
Lincoln. Like,
Matt would be calling it the Gary look right
Gary
now.
look.
Like,
Okay.
if Brad asks you to do something, be careful because you might be doing it for the rest of your life.
Oh my gosh.
you
You
might
have
be-
not
you-
done a good job
you might be-
promoting me on here.
You might be the Easter Bunny for the rest of your life if you do it the one time.
But see, you just need to
Brad, you gotta
recruit
mix it
another
up,
one.
man. You got to mix it up some.
You got to recruit another Easter bunny.
Yeah, if anybody's looking for a volunteer opportunity
Anybody like to be an Easter bunny?
around Easter, Christmas work
I
too.
love it.
Anyway, yeah, favorite Bible verse is tough, but
That's okay. It doesn't have to be a Bible verse.
see, and now I
What's
can't
some
think of
wisdom? What's just some wisdom you give people about your experience with God?
one. Just keep your eyes open. I mean, you don't. I think he does a lot of stuff you don't expect. I mean, I definitely never. This was never in my being right here, right now,
Mm-hmm.
where I am in my life was never. Yeah, no, I never could have expected to be where I am now, and I'm so glad I am.
Awesome.
You know,
Well, just from my personal observation, when I first saw you, it seemed like there's some heaviness in your life and you're carrying some loads that you weren't meant to carry. And now I see much more of a lightness and a joy and happiness. And you bring us joy in all the things that you do, and may your tribe increase of people that follow through and take their next step on their journey with Christ like you.
thank you.
You're welcome. Very much so. So we'll tune in next time for episode number 21 of the Next Step podcast. Maybe I'll bring Powerades. So we'll be 21 then, and we'll drink those things. Thank you so much, Gary, for being with us.
Yes, sir.
And with that, we'll see you next time.